Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So, taking a fun and exciting video for you guys today, because we're going to be talking about FPGA gaming in 2026, both on the MiSTer FPGA front, the SuperStation One front, Analogue 3D, as well as the ModRetro M64. Because 2025 was an absolutely incredible year when it came to FPGA gaming developments, I think we're going to see the same thing in 2026. So today I'm going to talk about things that are coming and things that I hope are coming, so we can actually get a better handle on where FPGA gaming is going in the future. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. If you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. Let's kick off the coverage here with MiSTer FPGA, because right now we're still not sure if the DE25 Nano is ever going to become part of the MiSTer FPGA ecosystem, because even though the MiSTer FPGA still gets a lot done for having a very own Silicon 5 FPGA chip on board, it does feel like maybe sometime in the future a new improved MiSTer FPGA platform could be coming. Now again, it's all rumor and conjecture, and I tell everyone, do not go out and buy a DE25 Nano. I bought this for on-camera usage, and that way if it does become a thing, I am ready day zero. But for everyone else, you definitely want to keep your wallet in your pocket and don't start buying things yet, because there's a lot of different hardware out there that could be coming in the pipeline, and it's one of those things, until everyone who's involved in the MiSTer FPGA project decides what they're going to use next, nothing is official. And I do get a lot of comments and questions about this, asking when and if anything's going to run on the DE25 Nano, and the answer to that question is we just don't know yet whatsoever. But it does feel like maybe in 2026 MiSTer FPGA could transition to a new platform, or at least start kind of doing the framework for it. Now, something I definitely hope comes in 2026, and I can't imagine it wouldn't, would be SRG 320's Work in Progress 3DO core, because he's been developing this in conjunction with the Sega Saturn core that we featured a ton in 2025, and I feel like within the next year we're going to see at least a beta core for this so people can start testing. And to say I'm excited for the idea of a 3DO core would be an understatement. I totally get it's not the best console ever made, but for me personally, it is one of my favorite consoles of all time, and there is a decent amount of fun stuff to play on 3DO, and having a MiSTer FPGA core would be outstanding. This is SRG 320's test footage here. Last time we saw Killing Time wasn't running at full speed. We'll have to wait and see what happens next. But to say in 2026 getting a 3D core would be awesome, that is just something I absolutely want to see, and something I do expect to see, because we still have about 352 days left in the year before it's 2027, so I give myself a lot of time to be right on this one. Now, something you can play around with today, even if it only gets to the splash screen, is going to be the NEC PCFX core, because we know Reverend Gumby is working on it. We did a video on it, and it is one of those platforms I want everyone to play this at least once. I'm not saying that the PCFX is some sort of hidden gem. There's probably a dozen worthwhile games playing on it, but it's the type of thing that I feel like 99 out of 100 people here have never played before, and like 50 out of 100 people probably don't even know exists as a platform. So this is definitely going to be something to watch out for in 2026, and I can't wait for this thing to run its first game. Because even though again the PCFX is an absolute failure at market, stuff like Zenki, stuff like Team Innocent, stuff like Chip-Chan Kick, and Zeroagar are definitely absolute must plays on the platform, and it'll be really fun to see how this thing shapes up. Because just like we did the testing for the PlayStation 1, Sega Saturn, and N64 cores, I want another core to be able to run videos on consistently, so you can talk about all the improvements. Now on the Hotego side of things, he's been updating a lot of cores, and we now have Konami's Running Gun, which he said was a stepping stone to get to a Capcom CPS3 core. Now I don't definitively know that that's going to work on MiSTer FPGA. It could be for some future hardware Hotego has in mind. Really all options are on the table, but it is one of those things. We've seen a lot of new arcade cores coming to MiSTer FPGA in 2026, and one thing I hope to see is more arcade developers jump into the mix, because honestly there aren't really a ton out there, and there's still so many incredible arcade boards like IGS PGM, Taito F3, Sega System 32 that could probably run on MiSTer FPGA that we just don't have yet. So really something I hope to see as FPGA gaming gets bigger is that more developers and hobbyists that love retro games and FPGA development actually start working on these projects, because we're going to get a lot more stuff if a lot more people are involved, and is one of those things. FPGA gaming might feel huge, but compared to software emulation, we're just basically a drop in the ocean of water when it comes to who's using what. Please leave me a comment down below and you tell me, what was your favorite FPGA gaming moment of 2025, because I would be curious, and I always love to hear what you guys think about these projects. Now moving over to the analog side of things, it's going to be an interesting year, I think, for them, because they're in full support mode for Analogue 3D. It is out, and you can order one if it's in stock today and get it delivered. And it's one of those things, for what Analogue 3D does, it does an outstanding job of it, running every single retail game, a ton of ROM hacks, and outputting it in 4K. And as far as actually having to wait around for this thing, the wait was almost an eternity. Analogue's communication was very poor on why it was delayed, but now that it is here, you can safely say the wait was worth it because it is a very quality product. I'm definitely having a lot of fun with this one, sitting inside my living room on my 4K LG C4 TV. And it is the thing, what I think Analogue needs to do in 2026 is work on a little bit more of the operating system support for Analogue 3D, because stuff like save states are still missing, and it is one of those things, the software outside of playing games feels a little bit like it has some growing up to do. And it's also a situation where I don't think Analogue is going to be announcing a new console anytime soon, but I could be wrong, and I think maybe they at least got a little bit roadblocked on one thing based upon another company's developments. But Analogue 3D has been a ton of fun, and it'll be interesting to see what Analogue does in the future as far as hardware and software developments are concerned, because they make a standalone console for basically every platform out there. You already have the PC Engine and Duo, you have Analogue 3D for the Nintendo 64, so what does that really leave, because they've already done Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis? That leaves Sega Saturn and PlayStation 1 as far as available consoles that they could make are concerned. So you tell me down below, if they were going to make another console, would you like to see a PlayStation 1 or would you like to see Sega Saturn? And even though in a dream world, I'd love to see a full FPGA Neo Geo AES that actually accepted cartridges, that's something I would definitely buy. I don't expect that anytime soon because I think the market is just a little bit too thin out there, because who really has all of those original AES cards? Only idiots like me who seem to treat their wallet like it has some sort of infinite money glitch and they have no common sense. But it really is interesting. Analogue's entire business model involves recreating classic consoles and FPGA, and while they've been doing an excellent job, I would be worried if I was at Analogue that they just run out of actual hardware to make, because at this point in time they're down to like a couple of systems left before they move into something like the Dreamcast generation, and I really don't think that's happening anytime soon. But what I would love to see in Analogue in 2026 is the Analogue 3D to get a lot more robust support in the software and definitely some improvements around the edges there. And again, I feel like most people expect them to do a PlayStation 1 console next, and that's kind of what I expect too. But Takeuda and Retro Remake already have, at least in small samples, the Retro Remake SuperStation One out into the market, and you're going to see a lot more shipping soon. And when people want an FPGA console with an original style case design that they can put next to their television, Analogue now is a little bit behind the 8 ball, because that's already gone out as far as shipping is concerned. That ship has sailed, and you can pick up one of these things and just wait for it to arrive. So I don't think they're going to go to Sega Saturn versus PlayStation 1. I assume that maybe the market can bear two different PlayStation 1 FPGA consoles that play original discs on the market. We'll just have to wait and see what happens there. You tell me down below what you expect to happen. Now back to MiSTer FPGA and the Heber Multisystem 2 here. What I'd love to see out of Heber in 2026 is for them to get their actual JAMA version out so you can pop it into an arcade cabinet, because MiSTer Add-ons has their JAMA adapter, and I think that's an absolutely outstanding product. But competition on the market is always good, especially over in England, where maybe you don't want to have to deal with some of the tariffs trying to get this stuff into the US. As well, Heber's also mentioned that maybe there might be some expandability on the actual FPGA front via the expansion slot. I'd love to see what their plans for that are. But honestly, everyone I've talked to on the channel in comments and otherwise who's picked up a Multisystem 2 has been very happy with it, and it is sitting on my PVM right now next to me as one of my main MiSTer setups. I try to keep one PVM with a MiSTer FPGA on it at all times. I keep one MiSTer FPGA in my capture chain, and then I keep one in the living room on my LG C4 OLED. And I kind of switch them back and forth, but this one honestly kind of hits the best on top of a PVM as far as using it is concerned. But with this expansion port, there's a lot of different options somebody like Heber could use to improve this thing and expand upon it in the future, and I'd love to see more of that, because I really do like their design ethos where you have that expansion port and you can design things for it yourself, or you can pick up different adapters that do different video signals or controllers. So the sky is kind of the limit when it comes to that expansion port. I want to see a lot more of that in 2026, so I think it really is a fun design choice to be able to have basically limitless expandability when it comes to what the Multisystem 2 can do. If you are using one, leave me a comment down below and you tell me what you think about it, because it has been a lot of fun to play around with, and it's definitely become a staple in my MiSTer FPGA roster of hardware that I'm always playing with. Now moving over to ModRetro and the M64, obviously as the recording of this video, it is not out yet, it is not for sale, and that is definitely something to look forward to in 2026, because there's definitely enough interest out there to have two different N64 FPGA consoles on the market that both read discs. As I've told you guys in previous videos, this is the same core as on MiSTer FPGA from Robert FPGA Zoom Spas, but it's going to have some improvements around the edges on ModRetro M64, so it's definitely interesting to see just how well it compares to MiSTer FPGA, because honestly it's not comparing apples to oranges, it's comparing oranges to some slightly enhanced oranges that they grew just a little bit better. And the nice thing is, we've talked about in the past, this is going to be able to load up other cores at least potentially, so this might be a jack of all trade things. Some people out there are saying it's the true MiSTer FPGA 2, that is not the case whatsoever. There is more space on the market for more than one actual FPGA console, but this isn't involving the MiSTer FPGA team, it just involves one person that made a core or multiple cores from MiSTer FPGA. So just to clarify that, it's one of those confusing things. People always seem to get a little bit tripped up, but no, the ModRetro M64 is not the MiSTer FPGA 2, and no one who's involved in the MiSTer FPGA project is involved with ModRetro. But we did get an entire case design reveal with all of the crazy wacky colors, and it is definitely a vibe. Some people seem to love it, some people seem to hate it, but Mrs. Esoterica herself said she liked the design, and that she really is the de facto boss of this channel, at least as far as this joke is concerned. The colors definitely are something that I'm going to enjoy next to my TV. And we also got a preview of the ModRetro N64 controller as well, adhering more to the classic N64 design with that trident handle. It's one of those things, we'll have to feel it in the hand and see exactly how it works, but I'm hoping for good things. That's definitely something that's going to be coming in 2026, and again, it's one of those things, they have stated that this is going to be open source. It's not going to replace MiSTer FPGA because it's a completely different project, but the nice thing is, at least from the ModRetro M64 side of things, from the PR and communications department, they have said that the FPGA is going to be open, you can load up other cores on it. But as I always like to say in videos, it is not just a drag and drop thing. These cores will need to be ported to the new hardware, and that is not free whatsoever. So it's one of those things, if this is open, you might not see another core run on it for 3 months or 6 months or maybe even a year, but it is some exciting forward thinking looking stuff. But that's what's going to be happening in 26 that we know about, and what could be happening in 2026 as well. And I'm sure, like every other year, there's going to be a lot of surprises along the way. Some core will just randomly pop up from some we've never heard before, and we'll all be stoked for it. You leave me a comment down below and you tell me, what do you want to see in FPGA gaming in 2026? My number one choice would be a MiSTer FPGA handheld, but we'll just have to wait and see. But short of that, we're done. Hope you enjoyed the videos. Leave your comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.